Our society and culture has different domains or spheres. All people have dealings in these spaces, the marketplace, in effect.
We transact in the economy, with education, across media, arts, religion, and with various agencies of government. And whether you interact in institutional settings, maybe as an employee within a company, informal associations of people, church networks, or within the governmental political sphere, this is where you will engage, hoping to create outcomes. But unfortunately, you can also experience friction, direct opposition, manipulation of the facts, and even attacks on your reputation.
This behavior presents through people, where they are pursuing an agenda which they consider to be paramount. They are driven to gain control.
But often this is way more than just some contest of ideas or aggressive tactics and actions deployed to advance their agenda. In these settings, where people have allowed negative external influences to take hold in their own soul, a stronghold, as Derek Prince would teach, can develop.
This stronghold develops through such things as insecurities, broken identity, wounded unforgiveness, rebellion, greed and idolatry.
And maybe the individual, through access to and manipulation of their stronghold, will end up aligning with and operating under the influence of a principality.
But whether it's driven people with carnal mindsets or principality influence, this can give unbound opportunity for the damaging political spirit to manifest.
And this political spirit can be a real threat.
So just what is a political spirit?
Most people will be familiar with the term religious spirit, usually found within a faith or church setting, but this is different, and we will discover why. This video will cover the political spirit, its key features, where you'll engage this type of spirit, how it operates, what to look out for, how you might feel and react, and how you can deal with this in your life. Let's start with getting a handle on the political spirit.
To begin, we'll look closely at the word political.
It originates from the study of people in civic communities, specifically in urban city settings, polis, the community spaces where people gathered and organised their lives.
Over time, it came to mean the study of public affairs and the art of governing these affairs of the city-state.
So, if you look into the Greek and Latin origins of the word, it is really describing the gatherings and affairs of people, the dynamic interactions of people and transactions which are necessary and important to them as they organise and engage within communities.
In our contemporary society, this will be experienced both virtually and physically within the marketplace, as mentioned earlier.
The political spirit can therefore present wherever people interact in the civic space, the marketplace of ideas and life, every sphere. This means the political spirit refers to behaviours that will not just be found in politics. Machiavelli, the Florentine diplomat and philosopher, and considered to be the father of modern political theory, used animals as a metaphor to describe political actions.
The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves.
In the book of Luke, where Jesus was told by the Pharisees to immediately depart Jerusalem and that Herod wanted to kill him, Jesus replied,
"Go tell that fox that I will keep on casting out demons and healing people today and tomorrow, and the third day I will accomplish my purpose."
Jesus knew who he was dealing with, and he would not be deceived or pressured out of his mission. Machiavelli also said,
"Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception, because that is the only thing you need."
This type of statement is a reason why in psychology, the term Machiavellian intelligence is used to describe an evolved social intelligence which favours some against others, and typically sees deception and the formation of coalitions. It comes from a polluted heart. Remember, it was Aristotle who once declared,
Man is by nature a political animal.
Herod and Machiavelli and Aristotle may be long gone, but not so the spirit.
In our modern world, the political animal tends to thrive in these settings.
Groups and clubs, institutions and companies, organisations, where structure, process and hierarchy can give the citizens opportunity to use situational power. Sex, where identity is gained through belonging and performance. And in political movements and parties, using inside knowledge, networks and factions to leverage and gain some advantage. According to the Oxford Dictionary, one meaning for the adjective political can be understood as:
when we say political, it means this: connected with power, status, and so on, within an organisation rather than with matters of principle.
Back in 1906, the American journalist Ambrose Bierce declared this:
politics is a strife of interests, masquerading as a contest of principles. The conduct of public affairs for private advantage.
We commonly refer to the political sphere and the quality of behaviour by politicians, the factional power brokers, and the assembled cast of supporting actors, deteriorating so much that behaviour of this type is now expected. Truth and trust are the casualties. Listen now to what Michael Wear, a seasoned professional in the US political arena, states in his book, The Spirit of Our Politics.
I do not know if it is possible to have high respect or esteem where trust is low. Low trust is the prerequisite for so many of the behaviors and proclivities that are most decried in our politics today.
So just how does this political spirit actually operate? Basically, the spirit works through people to secure and advance a position for a faction or an individual. It manoeuvres circumstances and people to exert control, to gain advantage and power. And in doing so, it has no issue creating divisions and diminishing others, what is called othering. This will fuel what is known as political sectarianism.
Political sectarianism demands a constant state of conflict, and so politics becomes a forum for antagonism rather than public service. It's one thing for politicians to approach our politics in this way, to never stop campaigning. It's another for citizens to view politics as a stage for animosities and resentments. This is a critical development. We're all either political strategists or political cynics now. Our expectation of the worst in our politics turns into a willingness to excuse and rationalize it. Motivated by disdain for the other side, as well as a belief that our opponents will do anything to win, partisans demand that their politicians do whatever necessary so that they might win. This, of course, only fuels greater division and animosity. Note again that the framework of political sectarianism is not consumed with an analysis of specific policy views. The pillars that hold up political sectarianism, aversion, othering, and moralization, do not describe policy differences or distinctions, but rather how we relate to and think about one another. Political sectarianism obscures distinctions among those who belong to the same political party or are otherwise viewed to adhere to a common political cause. We become unable to see the differences among those who disagree with us. They congeal into an enemy that simply must be defeated. The logic of political sectarianism suggests that policy difference must be expressed through antisocial behavior, or else you don't really believe it. Political sectarianism creates a culture that conflates conviction with anger, belligerence, and antagonism.
These are self-centric, carnal behaviours deployed to gain ground and control. It's a cosmos of selfish ambition. The US online blog Line of Fire made this observation in a post March 2021.
The world of politics is often driven by fleshly ambition and a desire for power, mixed together with compromise and corruption. The book of James 3:15 labels these attitudes, among others, to be earthly, unspiritual, demonic. It is, he said, the wisdom from below.
We need to understand the soulish realm can exert psychic energy, an energy or force that has power to impact lives and influence other people. In fact, Galatians 5 describes witchcraft as a work of the flesh. The root of witchcraft is the carnal desire to dominate, manipulate, intimidate, and control. As Derek Prince once stated,
people who habitually use manipulation or intimidation to control others open themselves to the bondage and influence of a demon of witchcraft. If this happens, they will be unable to relate to anyone apart from these tactics. It will be no longer just the flesh at work, but a supernatural power that can bring whomever they control into a condition of spiritual slavery.
So it opens a door. Whether it's a person driven with a carnal mindset or a principality influence, this gives an unbound opportunity for a damaging political spirit to manifest. This is different to a religious spirit.
Both spirits can display pride and seek to dominate. But religious spirits tend to be self-righteous, entitled, and legalistic, and usually found in religious settings.
However, these spirits can work together in alliance to sustain power, to build their platform, so to speak. Think of the partnership between the UN, the Vatican Council, branches of Islam, Masonic Order and other groups, and their push for the one world religion. This interfaith religion is perhaps the most dramatic macro example of religious and political spirits working in tandem. And consider the UN also working in alliance with the religious spirit of the zealous climate and social engineering activists. This alliance has contributed to the UN 2030 agenda. Under the guise of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which are found in Agenda 2030, they are imposing targets and controls on global agriculture, meat consumption, and climate action, just to name a few.
This is socio-political dogma, infused with religious zeal.
But bad actors, driven by a political spirit, can even seek to elevate themselves as some pseudo-alternative God, actively diminishing the recognised divine authority which they perceive to be a threat to their own status and agenda.
For 4 billion years, nothing fundamental changed. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design, not the intelligent design of some god above the cloud.
These spirits will collaborate to condemn and punish, to advance their own position. As we saw with the alliances between King Herod, a cunning political agent, and the Pharisees, the legalistic, envious, religious agency of the day. And while we're in the Bible, remember the story in the book of Kings where Elijah encounters a territorial cocktail of evil, the alliance between Ahab, Queen Jezebel, and the prophets of Baal. First he takes on the false prophets with Olympic success, but later, when confronted with the threats from a powerful and vengeful spirit, he runs for his life from Jezebel.
Let's now consider the most common features of the political spirit in action. The primary, but not always the most obvious feature, is it will be driven by self-interest.
Actions will be self-serving, and it's power-hungry, or wanting proximity to power.
Hidden agendas.
Not transparent, but misleading or lying. And it has veiled motivations and alliances. This is a shadowy actor.
Condemning and divisive.
The person operating under this spirit tends to see others as a threat to their own identity, creating divisions with the them versus us scenarios.
Controlling.
This spirit intimidates and wants to dominate. It maneuvers others to gain more control and guard against loss of power.
And carnal.
This spirit is self-promoting. It has a material focus undermining higher values, with a lust for power and control in its core motivation.
So, how are you likely to feel when confronting a political spirit?
When you pause and consider your own experiences, you have probably felt confused and controlled. These are typical responses. You may have even felt pressured to take sides and align with the sectarian control. As Lynn Packer writes in her article, Exposing the Political Spirit,
it causes us to operate in a critical and sometimes vindictive spirit, to attack others, to slander them, spread gossip and belittle them to others, and ultimately makes us distance ourselves from those we can't control or bring around to our way of thinking.
But the effects can also be physical. You may find yourself rehearsing responses before coming face to face with the other party. And you may even sense, through dealings with this other party, that you're becoming very fatigued. This will be especially the case if words of curse, jealousy and malice have been sent like javelins in your direction. And if these people are acting with evil intent, like Jezebel did, you may even feel a stab of fear. No real surprise, because as Aristotle also once said,
fear is pain arising from the anticipation of evil. So don't allow others to make you afraid.
Or maybe you're just not able to be your true self or speak freely. You might even notice what feels like an invisible constraint or control on the way you talk. And you wonder just why you cannot be clear or communicate as confidently as you normally would.
Keep alert to this one. It's a signal.
And as things unfold and as more behaviours are revealed, you will notice patterns and may come to realise how you've been manipulated, deceived and disadvantaged. Ultimately, this type of opposition will be a challenge to your function and maybe your commitment. It will certainly test you on your knowledge, that is, what you believe and know to be true, not just what you feel.
And it will challenge your own motivations, especially so in how you choose to respond.
Remember, this spirit is quite hard to discern because it is shadowy in its nature, crafty and cunning. It feeds on deception and is often operating with veils and hidden alliances. The key is to look out for this and other political features. And be sure to stay on watch for inconsistencies and patterns in behaviours. This is because the political spirit is driven for personal gain and not by morals or values.
This means it does what it needs to win in the moment.
It has no standard other than this. So, over time, contradictions and inconsistencies will reveal. Okay, here are your 4 options in dealing with this spirit. You can either
be influenced by and align with this spirit. 2. Disengage and run, much like Elijah. 3. Respond and challenge. 4. Discern and disarm.
So a few options, but here's the caveat. If you respond and challenge, or discern and disarm, to be most effective, you must go in the opposite spirit.
But more on this in the next video. Thanks for listening.